Hi guys, today we're going to see what if New Zealand here, this underrated country that is never mentioned in this world, well, is rarely mentioned, had an empire. We're going to give New Zealand some glory because I feel like it's an underrated country. It's a really nice country. Okay, so in this universe, we're going to pretend that New Zealand is buffed, there is no alliances, and Antarctica here is nice and warm and foreshadowing what I'm going to do next. So New Zealand decides before it can invade any real country, it's going to invade the land of the penguins, Antarctica. And if they invade the entire country, uh, they will be the biggest country in the world, from the smallest to one of the biggest. So let's see how their invasion goes. So Antarctica doesn't have a military, as you probably know. So they have assembled penguin warriors with guns. So the invasion begins, and it's actually starting to go quite well for New Zealand because there's no real resistance here. Let me just fix it. Yeah, okay. Because there's not much resistance here, and the penguin army hasn't fully assembled, and there's no polar bears here. I don't think. So they encircle some penguins here, and they slaughter all of them. Because that just seems, yeah. They keep pushing up the Antarctic coast, and the penguins yeah, they're not having such a good time until something happens. The penguin leader just he goes with his gloves and he just flippers and he just starts slapping. He just starts slapping everybody. And he's helping Antarctica win the war until he realizes New Zealand has guns. And yeah, this is so silly. And yeah, penguins didn't have a fun time. They got encircled, and landings are made here, naval landings, and with Antarctica thinking, what's the point really of fighting? They surrender. I don't know how the treaty was signed, but it was. Don't know how the Penguins signed it with their flippers, but we are going to ignore that. And yeah, so now I think New Zealand is the biggest country in the world. They have all of Antarctica now, and it's nice and warm there. So, yeah. So they send people there, and Antarctica's starting to have a good population. And there's oil, and penguins. They might not be friends with them anymore, though. Okay, now that New Zealand has invaded Antarctica, it's feeling quite proud of itself. It's feeling bold, and the countries of the world are kind of like, what's happening here? But doesn't matter right now. So New Zealand now decides to invade an actual country, and they invade Papua New Guinea. This is part of Papua New Guinea. I don't know. I might be missing some islands. Forgive me. Oceania is a hard continent to learn geography, but okay. Now this country actually has a military. So New Zealand makes a small landing here, and they begin pushing into Papua New Guinea. They made a little landing here, and they take over this island that I don't know the name of. And they also attack here. They attack this area of Papua New Guinea, and Papua New Guinea is quite mad. They assemble their army though. They counter-offense here. They liberate some of the island here. They push back New Zealand here, and but they're stalemated over here. New Zealand, this is quite hard because it's going to be naval war and air superiority, and it's quite far away from New Zealand. So, yeah. New Zealand focuses on what they're successful in. They begin pushing up here, and the island here is recaptured. They push back here, and they encircle the troops here. And this area of Papua New Guinea surrenders. Now, with no hope in sight, and Papua New Guinea not doesn't want slaughtering and murdering, they surrender. And in case I haven't mentioned it, New Zealand fully annexes both of these countries. Well, Antarctica's not really a country, but we're gonna call it that. Anyway, now it's time for the big battle of this empire. Okay, so they ask Australia over here, and they're like, "Hey, Australia, can I buy some land?" And they ask if they can have Tanzania here, and they say they're gonna give Australia a couple $1 billion. Australia agrees because it doesn't really care about this island. If you live on this island, I'm sorry, but yeah. But some people in Australia don't like this at all and see that New Zealand is becoming an imperial country, and Australia declares war on New Zealand. And New Zealand was kind of hoping for this to happen. So they make a landing here from Papua New Guinea, and they begin pushing in to this part of Australia, which I like to call the Horn of Australia, and Australia begins to suffer. None. And they weren't prepared for this. We'll just say that. They make a landing here from Tanzania, which I think is what that island is called. And yeah, Australia is not looking too good anymore. And New Zealand's plan is, since there's just a giant desert here in Australia and like the middle of Australia, there's not much land. I mean, not much land. I mean, not much like agricultural land, not much people here. Their main goal is just to take over most of the coast and the capital, which I believe is Perth, which is somewhere here. I think. Don't hate me, but I think. Okay, and now Australia begins a counteroffensive. They push back New Zealand here, and they also push back here, and they encircle these troops and kill them all. Why is this? Why am I starting to get so violent? These two are very peaceful countries. Whatever. And now New Zealand finds an opportunity. They push up here, and wait a minute. They push up here, and now that they have the opportunity, they encircle all these Australian troops, and they all surrender. And now big push has started, and now they're focusing up the coast. Here it's not looking too good, but reinforcements have arrived, and now they're just gonna slither up the coast here, like so. And yeah, that's all they're focused about right now. May expand a little here, but not too much, because it's desert as well, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, Australia isn't looking too good. But New Zealand does have a weakness with this plan. That is, if you're focusing on your coast, look how skinny this is. So it's quite vulnerable to maybe just a and troops are encircled and they surrender here. And the same thing happens here. And New Zealand is being pushed back. And yeah, now they're pretty much even on casualties here. And yeah. So now what happens is a chain of events that New Zealand is like, oh, okay, there's a weakness to our plan. We'll make a better one. So they decide, instead of just snuggling to the coast, they'll go a little bit off the coast and encircle troops here, then cut it off so they become nice and thick, and they're just gonna do what they did before and snuggle up the coast. Not really much of a plan, but whatever. And here, reinforcements have arrived as well, and they push back here, and they do the same thing. They encircle an amount of troops here, take them out, and the two fronts unite into one big front, and they begin the broader push into Australia. They snuggle up the coast here, and Australia has lost a lot of its population already, and isn't looking too good for them. So now New Zealand's main goal is to capture the capital. So they make a couple of landings here, 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 and yeah, they connect all of them with some heavy fighting ensuing. And here it gets a little tricky, since there's already quite a bit of Australian troops. So they actually counter some of the naval landings here, and it isn't looking too good for that area. And they also push back here, and they push back to the capital. They push away from the capital, I mean. And New Zealand has just suffered a major blow, but now they have an idea. They send reinforcements here, which takes them a while, and they push here, and they encircle this little area here, and they take it over with force. They don't surrender. And now all of the southern coast, pretty much all of the southern coast of Australia has been captured, and now they push back to try and capture the capital, which is Perth, and they have a plan now. They spearhead here, even though it's not very populated, and they're going to encircle the city and stop it. And here they just make sure they're thick enough so if Australia is trying to try and make it a counteroffensive, it can't. And now Australia has low morale. One landing is made here, and part of Australia's northern coast has also been captured. But there's not much population, so it's not really worth it. But let's focus here. A big battle ensues here, and the Australians are managed to encircle some New Zealand troops here, and New Zealand isn't too happy, and now they just make another naval landing. Naval landing. And now they encircle the city of Perth. They close in as quickly as they can, make a spearhead here, so the Australians can't counter them. And it's actually a bloody battle, but they are able to capture Perth. And Australia, with most of its population now being captured and not much where else to go, that's good climate. We'll just say that. Australia surrenders. And yeah, that's going to be it for the New Zealand empire. Not much countries that New Zealand can invade. Oh, wait a minute. New Zealand just got an idea. Just one more country. One more country. And New Zealand just really likes invading islands, because it is one. So they decide to invade Madagascar, and troops are on their way. Madagascar is able to muster a defense, but it's jungle. There's a lot of jungle in Madagascar, so guerrilla warfare ensues. And Australia, as it did before, snuggles up the coast, which Madagascar was not really prepared for because they wanted to do guerrilla warfare, and Madagascar just surrenders. It's like, no, just stop. Okay, now Australia is done the empire. It is the biggest country in the world with Australia and Antarctica, and yeah, they finally get the glory they deserve, and now they're actually noticeable on the map, and they're not going to be taken out. Because some world maps actually are mean to New Zealand, and they take it out just because it's slow on the Earth, and that's mean. So now they're actually noticeable, and yeah, New Zealand has achieved its glory, and it's now not more underrated. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button like Australia. Smash these countries. No offense to anyone. And have a good morning, evening, or afternoon. And subscribe if you want. I really appreciate it because it tells me that you guys enjoyed these videos. And also comment because I love reading comments. And I usually respond to them unless they're mean because I don't like mean comments. Anyway, bye!